My wife cut off sex and lost it when I found it elsewhere. Now she's begging me to stay, but I'm moving forward with the divorce. A few months back, a 28-year-old man, posted on Reddit seeking relationship advice. I was in a tough spot with my marriage because my wife decided, without any discussion, that we were done having sex. This decision wasn't mutual, and it blindsided me. The reason behind her decision was tied to a medical issue she had dealt with before we even met. She couldn't have kids, and apparently, having children was the only reason she was interested in sex. To be clear, I love my wife. I enjoy being intimate with her, and I didn't marry her just to have kids. But her complete refusal to be intimate was driving a massive wedge between us. It had been over 2 years since we last had sex, and it was tearing me apart. Every time I tried to talk to her about it, she'd get defensive or angry, which is why I turned to Reddit for advice. The community gave me some great suggestions, from counseling to having calm, open conversations with her about our intimacy problems. I took the advice seriously. I started seeing a therapist on my own and tried multiple times to talk to her about the issue. But every attempt ended the same way. She'd cry, scream at me, and accuse me of emotionally manipulating her. In a last attempt to save our marriage, I wrote her a letter. This wasn't just any letter. I spent days working on it, even consulting my therapist to ensure it didn't come across as aggressive or manipulative. The letter was thoughtful and loving, expressing my feelings and concerns. I asked her to consider couples counseling, seek therapy, or maybe even consult a doctor to explore any medical reasons for her lack of interest in sex. I thought a letter would give her time to reflect without the intensity of an in-person conversation. When I gave her the letter, I hoped it would spark some meaningful dialogue. Instead, she grabbed a red Sharpie, scribbled across the letter, "Go get it elsewhere because you're not getting it from me," and left the room. I was speechless. I sat there staring at the letter for an hour, not sure what to do. Eventually, I decided to take her advice. I wasn't planning on leaving her, but if she was telling me to get sex elsewhere, I figured that's what I'd do. Both of us have successful careers, and while I'm not a model, I keep in shape and have decent social skills. After some time, I met someone. It started as a friendship and eventually became physical. I was upfront with her. I told her I was married and not looking for a relationship. She was fine with it, and we kept things purely physical. I didn't go out of my way to hide this from my wife. I felt like I didn't need to after her Sharpie comment. A few weeks later, she found out. When I came home one evening, she was crying and asked if I was planning to leave her. I said no. Then she asked if I was cheating. I admitted I was getting sex elsewhere, and she accused me of cheating. I didn't deny it. She told me I had to stop seeing the other woman. I asked her, "Are we going to start having sex again?" She looked at me like I was crazy and said, "You really think I'm going to have sex with you after you cheated on me?" I didn't respond. I walked to my desk, pulled out a photocopy of the letter I wrote, and handed it to her, with her Sharpie response still on it. Then, I took a shower and went to sleep in the guest room. The next morning, she was sitting on the couch, ready to talk. She confessed she hadn't actually read the letter when I first gave it to her. She assumed it was just me begging for sex, which is why she reacted the way she did. She said she felt bad and was now open to counseling, both individually and as a couple. She said she'd work on our issues, but only if I stopped seeing the other woman first. I told her I'd consider pausing the relationship with the other woman if we made progress in counseling. But she refused, saying I had to end things with the other woman before we could start counseling, and if I didn't, she wouldn't go. At that point, I was frustrated. I asked her why I should stop seeing the other woman when she hadn't even committed to fixing our relationship. She couldn't give me an answer. I realized in that moment that I couldn't spend the rest of my life without intimacy. I was 28, and I wasn't willing to stay in a sexless marriage, especially when my wife refused to see my side of things. I told her that if she wasn't willing to work with me, we should divorce. She didn't say anything. Some comments from the community helped me gain more clarity. The fact that you made a photocopy of the letter tells me you already know this train is headed for divorce. Do it now while you're still 28. things get a lot harder 10 years down the line. There's no happy ending where you two stay together. Update. I told my wife that I had ended things with the other woman, thinking this would show her I was serious about working on our marriage. But even after I told her, she refused to go to counseling. She told me I had no right to her body and no right to get sex elsewhere either. In truth, I hadn't ended the relationship. I said I did to test her. Deep down, I knew she wasn't serious about counseling. When she didn't hold up her end of the bargain, it confirmed that our marriage was over. We're getting divorced now. She deserves to be with someone who is fine with a marriage without intimacy, and I deserve to live a life where my needs are met. I've moved out and I'm focusing on moving forward with my life. Thanks, Reddit, for the advice. Story 2. I, 26M, been with my fiancée, 26F, for 4 years, but after a recent talk, I'm questioning if we should get married. My fiancée and I have been together for 4 years. We met through my sister, who introduced us, and right from the start, we clicked. Everything was great. Our relationship grew stronger, and we made future plans, including moving in together, traveling, and even marriage. In fact, we were planning to get married in November. I loved her deeply, and I believed we had a healthy and stable relationship. But a recent conversation has shaken my confidence, and now I'm questioning whether I want to marry her. It all started on the night of our 4-year anniversary. We had a small celebration at home, and my sister, who is best friends with my fiancé, joined us since she played a big role in bringing us together. It was a fun night. We ordered dinner from a nice restaurant, had some drinks, and even had a karaoke session. There was a lot of laughter, and the atmosphere was relaxed. By midnight, I was pretty drunk. I wasn't paying much attention to what was on TV or what they were talking about until I overheard something that really caught me off guard. My fiancée started talking about her ex, which felt strange since we usually didn't discuss our past relationships. She mentioned that her ex was emotionally abusive, something I'd heard before, but then she added, even though I used to climb him like a tree and he was a great fuck, he was still a good riddance. Hearing that hit me hard. I didn't react immediately because I was too drunk, but the conversation became awkward. My sister didn't laugh, and my fiancé went quiet for a bit. The next morning, as I replayed that moment in my head, I couldn't shake how hurt I felt. It wasn't just the comment itself, it was the way she spoke about her ex in such an intimate, physical way. It made me question whether she still had feelings for him, or if she saw me as just the safe choice rather than someone she was truly passionate about. Later that day, I confronted her about it. She apologized immediately, saying she was drunk and didn't mean anything by it, but the damage was already done. I told her I needed some space to think things over, and I spent the rest of the day trying to process everything. A few hours later, she apologized again, this time in tears, but I wasn't ready to talk yet. I reached out to my sister, who was supportive and reassured me that my fiancé truly loved me. But she also understood why I was upset. I couldn't help but feel like my fiancé saw me as the safe option. Someone stable and reliable, but not someone she was wildly passionate about. And that's not something any man wants to feel. As days passed, I started to question our future. I didn't want to be with someone who didn't have that raw, passionate connection with me. I know it's not rational to compare myself to her ex, but the idea that I might be the safe choice gnawed at me. I couldn't imagine going into a marriage feeling like I was just the fallback option. Some advice and comments from the Reddit community helped me reflect on things. A couple of the responses stuck with me. Have a conversation with her if it's making you feel insecure. Ask her questions about the relationship and bedroom life. It may have been an unfortunate comment, but the reality is you're a great partner. It's definitely not fun to hear, but it didn't sound like she meant to hurt you. She probably was trying to say the only good thing about her ex was the sex. I knew I had to talk to her more about my feelings, but I was afraid that even if we worked through this, the doubt would always linger in my mind. Update. After taking some time to process everything, I sat down with my fiancée to talk about how her comment made me feel. I explained that hearing her talk about her ex in such a physical way made me feel insecure, like I wasn't enough for her. I told her I was worried she saw me as the stable, safe option, rather than someone she felt deep passion for. She apologized once again and reassured me that she loves me and wants to spend the rest of her life with me. She explained that her comment was just a drunken slip-up, and she didn't mean anything by it. She said she was trying to make light of a bad relationship, And the only good thing about her ex was the sex. Even though she apologized and tried to reassure me, I still have doubts. I know it's irrational to compare myself to her past, but I can't help feeling like I'm not enough. I don't want to move forward with our wedding plans until I can fully resolve these feelings. I love her, but I also want to feel desired and know that I'm the person she's truly passionate about, not just the safe choice. I'm still figuring out where to go from here. Story 3. Confronting my entitled neighbor who refuses to clean up after their dog. This morning I had an experience that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. I was sitting on my balcony, enjoying breakfast like I do most mornings, when I spotted a woman walking her dog. I've seen her around our apartment complex many times, and she's in her 30s or 40s, about my age, but we've never spoken before. She usually walks her dog near my building, but we've never exchanged greetings. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people don't clean up after their dogs. It's disgusting and makes our apartment complex look terrible. Most dog owners around here are responsible and clean up after their pets, but there are always a few who don't bother. Whenever I see someone not picking up after their dog, I usually call them out. Most of the time, they know they're in the wrong and clean it up. Sometimes they get defensive, but not like this woman. She was walking her dog right by my balcony, and after her dog did its business, she started walking away without cleaning it up. I politely called out, "Excuse me, are you going to clean up after your dog?" Her response left me speechless. In the most entitled tone, she said, "No, I'm good, thanks." I couldn't believe the audacity. I burst out laughing, not out of humor, but sheer disbelief. I responded, "Wow, that's really pathetic." That set her off. She marched back toward me, clearly not used to being called out on her behavior. She started ranting about how other people don't clean up after their dogs either, so why should she? It was like dealing with a petulant child, using the "but everyone else is doing it" excuse. I calmly replied, "Cool, then give me their names. Let's make a list, because I don't see any of them here right now." She kept escalating, saying things like, "You're not the only one who lives here. Other people don't clean up either." I responded, "That doesn't absolve you from being part of the problem." She was so worked up and defensive, it was almost laughable. Eventually, she stormed off, but not before giving me a snarky, "Have a nice day." I sarcastically wished her the same. As she walked away, I took a video of her leaving the scene of the crime, so to speak, with plans to report her to the front office. Update. The next day, I reported the incident to the front office and thought that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. The woman came back the very next day, this time deliberately walking her dog right in front of my balcony again, clearly trying to provoke me. Her dog pooped again, and once more, she walked away without cleaning it up. I had my phone ready this time and started recording. When she saw me recording, she absolutely lost it. She started screaming, "Oh my God, are you trying to record me? You know that's illegal, right?" I calmly replied, "Yes, I'm recording you. It's not illegal. You're in a public space." She continued ranting about how I should mind my own business and that none of this concerned me. At that point, I was done with her nonsense. I said, "It does concern me because I live here too, and I don't want our complex covered in dog poop." She then ranted about how I didn't own the property, so it wasn't my problem. In a last-ditch effort to insult me, she called me a fat bitch, but my roommate and I just laughed. I kept recording, which only seemed to make her angrier. Eventually, she stormed off again, but not before threatening to report me for recording her. I told her to go ahead, knowing full well I was in the right. After that, I went straight to the front office with the video. The landlord was appalled by her behavior and thanked me for bringing it to their attention. They assured me they would handle it and asked me to send them the footage, which I did. Final update: it's been a few weeks since the last incident with the entitled neighbor, and thankfully things have quieted down. The day after I reported her, I noticed someone else walking her dog. I haven't seen her since, and I can only assume she's either avoiding our side of the complex or has moved out altogether. Whatever the case, the problem seems to have resolved itself. The dog poop situation around the complex has improved, and I haven't had any further confrontations with her or anyone else. I'm just glad the ordeal is over. It's crazy to think all of this drama stemmed from someone not cleaning up after their dog. But at least now, people around the complex are being more responsible, and I can enjoy my mornings on the balcony in peace. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.